Author's POV. Knock knock. Someone knocked on the door as the man working on the computer looked upwards and said in his cold and deep voice, "Come in." The person came inside and greeted him, "Good morning, Mr. Kim. I have your schedule for the day." The secretary informed as Taehyung looked upwards and took the iPad and looked at his schedule. He was checking when something caught his eye and asked, "I have a banquet today?" The secretary nodded and said, "Yes, sir. This is Mr. Park's banquet for his new success in his business." Taehyung sighed as leaned back on his chair and placed his palms on his forehead and said, "I have a bunch of work and this party is not helping at all." He said as the secretary replied, "You don't have a choice, have to attend this." Taehyung huffed and leaned on the table and asked, while placing his face on his palms, "She is also coming?" The secretary nodded and said, "Yes, Ms. Kim is also coming." Taehyung huffed again in annoyance and said, "Another drama." The secretary coughed and said, "If you will restrain yourself from quarreling with her, then she will not do anything." The secretary said as Taehyung gave death glares to him. He again cleared his throat and took the iPad and said, "I should take my leave now." He bowed 90 degrees and left from there. Taehyung got busy with his work. Meanwhile, the ringing of the phone call can be heard. The girl working on her laptop very keenly sked in annoyance and attend the phone call without seeing the caller ID. "Hello, who is this?" she said, annoyed as she heard a chuckle in response. She recognized the voice in the blink of an eye and said, "If you wanna laugh only then, bye, I am hanging up the call." Tsuyu, she was so annoyed because of some error in her work as Tsuyu controlled herself and said, okay, my tigress. "Why are you so annoyed today?" Tsuyu asked as she was concerned. The girl sighed and left the laptop for a while and leaned on her chair and said, "I am trying to find this idiot bug in my website but was unable to do so." She huffed again as Tsuyu laughed this time and said, "Who told you to challenge Taehyung then? You know Yn, he is very clever and an idiot too." Tsuyu laughed again as Yn yelled, "Don't take his name. He was such an idiot as he was the one who provoked me in front of everyone." Tsuyu controlled her laugh and said, "You guys are the leading entrepreneurs of South Korea yet fighting like Tom and Jerry." Yn sighed and said, "This is how it is. For the past 5 years, we are getting tied in the best entrepreneur. This year I'ma take that award only for me." Tsuyu shook her head being done with her and said, "Anyways, I have called you to inform you that Jimin held a party for his new successful business. Did you know?" She asked as Yn sighed and replied, "Yeah, I know, and that idiot monkey is also coming this time. I am telling you, this Jimin is for sure holding these parties only to invite me and him." Tsuyu chuckled and said, "Don't say such a thing about my husband Yn." Yn rolled her eyes and said, "Yeah man." They both talked for a moment and then cut the call. Years ago, in the bustling city of South Korea, there were 2 ambitious individuals, Taehyung and Yn. Both were successful entrepreneurs and owned rival marketing companies. Their businesses thrived in the competitive industry, constantly trying to outshine each other. The professional rivalry between them was notorious, and their success stories were splashed across the news. One fateful day, while attending a business conference, Taehyung and Yn found themselves seated next to each other. As they engaged in small talk, they discovered a shared passion for entrepreneurship, dedication to excellence, and a witty sense of humor. Sparks flew, and before they knew it, they found themselves continually seeking each other out during coffee breaks and networking events. It is well known in the country that both companies envies each other and always tried to outshine the other. They both do everything with extra care and always tried to be in the first place, but for the last 5 years, both are getting tied for the Best Entrepreneur award, which made them frustrated. From then onwards, they both became each other's business rivals. Time skip in the evening. Yn's POV. After completing my work for the day, I went to home and was getting ready. I decided to wear a black magnificent dress with a deep cut on the back, backless, and surprisingly I am looking elegant. Perfect, I just have to do some touch-ups and I am ready. I was giving the final finishing to my makeup when I heard the bathroom door opening sound. I know who is it, that is why I didn't mind it and continued to work when the person circled his veiny arms around my small waist. I looked upwards and met with his eyes, the love of my life. I smiled sweetly and turned a bit and pecked his lips. He smiled and said, "You are looking amazing." With his deep voice, which sent shivers down my spine, but I maintained my composure and said, "Thank you. But you are not ready yet. Tae, we are going to be late." Taehyung chuckled and broke the hug and said, "It doesn't even matter, we are going to go separately. After all, we are enemies." He emphasizes the word enemies as I chuckled and shook my head. I was sitting on the bed and he was changing his clothes and decided to wear a tie with it. He came towards me and gestured for me to help him, and I gladly listened to him and went closer to him and started to tie his tie. After a while, when he got ready, we went to our houses. So we are neighbors in the outside world, but we have built a door connecting both houses, a pretty clever trick. I went to my home and sat in the car and told the driver to drive. Author's POV. As fate would have it, Taehyung andYn's paths crossed at a tech conference. They found themselves in a heated debate on stage, arguing about the future of technology. Their rivalry quickly became the talk of the tech community, with headlines pitting them against each other. Little did the world know that behind their fierce competition, a love story was quietly blossoming. Unbeknownst to their companies and employees, Taehyung and Yn secretly started dating. Their love grew stronger every day as they discovered the many things they had in common: a passion for technology, a drive for success, and a deep understanding of each other's dreams and ambitions. Yet, they kept their relationship a secret, knowing that it could jeopardize their professional reputations. Their days were filled with fierce competition at work, and nights were spent cherishing their love away from prying eyes. But as they delved deeper into their relationship, they could no longer deny the elephant in the room. They had to reveal their secret to the world. At Jimin's party. It's been an hour that Yn and Taehyung arrived. Everyone was in the uproar, seeing the enemies of the industry to attend a common party, but everything got settled in no time. Yn was talking with Jimin as Taehyung was with Tsuyu when she said, "Excuse me." She excused herself and went from there. She found a waitress and asked, "Can you please tell me where is the washroom?" The waitress nodded and said, "Let me guide you there, miss." The waitress took the lead as Yn followed her and went to the washroom. After using the washroom, Yn was going towards the hall when she found one of the most perverted old men, who was also a businessman. He came towards her and smiled wickedly. Well, if it's not Ms. Kim Yn," he said as she was smiling forcefully, as she cannot be rude to anyone unnecessarily, and greeted him. "Hello Mr. Hyun, how are you?" He smiled and said, "I am fine Ms. Yn, how are you?" He said as put his hands on her shoulder blade as it was a bit uncomfortable. She smiled awkwardly and said, "I am good too." She tried to slip his hands over her shoulder but failed miserably. He grabbed her more tightly and moved his hand from her shoulder to her back. He tried to put it further down when Yn pushed him and said, "What are you doing?" He smiled annoyingly as he again tried to touch her, but she slapped his hands. It made him angry as he said, "I know you want it too. So why pretend to be pure?" It made her blood boils as she slapped him across his face and said, "You freaking pervert, do you even know who are you talking to? Also, I am your daughter's age." His ego got hurt as he replied, "I know what kind of SLT you are. First, seduce a man and then pretend to play the victim card." She tolerated enough, so she kicked on his main part as he groaned in pain. She grabbed his collar and dragged him to the hall where everyone was present. She got everyone's attention, where some were shocked, some were taking the fun of it, and some were genuinely concerned about her. She forced him to push him onto the floor and he bumped his head. He stood up and said, "You SLT. I know you're kind. Having fun playing victim card after seducing me." Yn had enough of it as she slapped him twitch this time and grabbed his collar as said, "Until now, are you going to pretend? Huh?" He looked at her with his burning gaze as he tried to slap her when Taehyung came forward and stopped him to slap her. He jerked his hands as came in front of Yn and said, "Do you even know what are you doing right now?" Mr. Hyun scoffed and said, "You are her enemy and now defending her. Did she seduce you too?" Taehyung balled his fist and punched him in the face as hard as he can and said, "Yes, we are enemies in business, because she is the toughest competitor for me, but at the same time she is the love of my life who is the best supported for me." Everyone present in the hall got shocked by the sudden reveal as Jimin and Suyu came forward and said, "Bring the CCTV footage of the hall." They projected it on the wall as everyone saw what happened. Mr. Hyun was immediately sent to the prison and Jimin adjourned the party. The next day, headlines changed from rivalry to romance as the world learned about the love story behind these two tech giants. Some questioned if their relationship was a conflict of interest, but most people were captivated by their love and admired their ability to balance their personal and professional lives. As days turned into weeks, Taehyung and Yn faced a wave of challenges together. Their relationship was repeatedly put to the test as they fought fiercely in the business world, yet always managed to find solace in each other's arms. Through the ups and downs, their love remained unwavering. Finally, the day came when their companies were on the verge of a breakthrough. They found themselves competing head-to-head for a groundbreaking collaboration with a prestigious conglomerate. The stakes were high, and their rivals in the business world were determined to see them fail. But Taehyung and Yn had something their rivals didn't: a love that fueled their determination and creativity. They combined their talents, working day and night to come up with a product that would reshape the future of technology. Rarely seen apart, they knew that together, they were unstoppable. In the end, their collaboration was not only a success, but also became the talk of the tech industry. Future Tech and Zensoft became the benchmarks of true collaboration, leaving their competitors in awe. Their love story had defied all odds and had become a symbol of inspiration for many. In the end, their collaboration was not only a success, but also became the talk of the tech industry. Future Tech and Zensoft, their company names, became the benchmarks of true collaboration, leaving their competitors in awe. Their love story had defied all odds and had become a symbol of inspiration for many. The end.